Hello, and welcome back to a very special episode of the Commander's Guide to Purging Nurgle. I'm Jade Star, joined as always by my favorite friend who stalks me constantly through the world of Eorzea, behind every corner, hidden behind every rock, and hovering in every cloud. Polish.
Like, if they made stealth that worked, I would actually use it.
Warning. Our seed reserves are being handled carelessly.
Proper
Proper
containment
containment
with seeds,
protocols are
apparently.
not being followed.
We are in a race against time, Commander. Minor contamination is of little threat to the Grey Knights.
So, how much dangerous and unethical space science do you want to do?
I mean, okay.
Fine.
Lots of it. But
But
you're
know this will
basically
handle
out of
my
research
research.
anyways.
Right. I'm not entirely sure what the result of just ignoring that is. It's probably not good. But like you said, I'm out of research, so I don't really care to take a speed down on research time.
And even then, like, as far as a penalty goes, delaying your research speed is, the least minor one.
Yeah.
Anything else that can happen is more severe.
Almost without exception. I can't think of a counter off the top of my head. Also, engines upgraded. So now, finally, what are we, like 219 days in, I can build the upgrade to get people to heal faster. Which is great, because I really need to go to that craft world. Which isn't going to
I
be
feel
this
like
video.
he's going to be finished recovering before that is even built.
I don't actually think so. That was it was only like an 18-day build on that, I think.
Yeah.
I think he still had like 30 to 35 left to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not cutting a substantial amount of time off of that.
True. But it'll be useful in the long run.
Son of a bitch.
Your Alexa picking up some Commander's Guide there.
That's alright. I'll edit that out of the audio.
It's nice to know you're having good weather, though. Yeah, I'm probably still sandbagging for these two missions. I'm hoping the Vindicare is up and ready before the next batch. Because I want the Vindicare for the craft world. And while I examine these planets and what they offer me in rewards, I should probably explain my hesitation to the craft world. You are probably supposed to hit it by now. However, the first time I played through the game, or at least maybe the first couple, I maybe had a bad experience. I need to revisit this. I felt like the craft world mission was the hardest mission in the game. That includes all of the boss fights and the final fight and everything else. I always thought that the craft world mission was the hardest, whether that was because I went there early or probably on time, with only, level 4 or 5 guys with minimal or moderate armory access. Maybe it's the composition of the mission, the nature of the mission, the surprise element at the end, so forth. I maybe just have some post-traumatic crab stress syndrome over it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But it is one of those missions that I would say it helps to kind of know what you're getting into and to prepare for it ahead of time. Because with everything except for that mission, everything is, at least in my experience, been pretty fluid. You can approach it in any playstyle of your choosing, and as long as you aren't making glaring, obvious errors and just wasting your AP or doing something egregiously antithetical to a strategy game, you'll be fine. And that is sort of the purpose of this guide, or this LP, and the strategy games I do. I don't play on Legendary. I don't play to absolutely maximize literally everything, because one thing that came to me when listening to Jake Solomon and XCOM 2 and talk about things is the Sid Meier's rule. If you don't know Sid Meier's, he's grandfather of gaming, behind Civilization, behind lots of great things, behind Firaxis. And so Sid Meier actually has 2 rules. One he calls the covert action rule, which is kind of irrelevant, but if you know the Sid Meier rule, maybe you know that one. But the other Sid Meier rule is that he said, if left unto the players, they will optimize all of the fun out of a game. And some of the conversation that I've been seeing in the thread or around this game has really brought that forefront to my mind constantly. I'll get back to it right after these guys.
Analysis. Seeding location identified as site of recent Astra Militarum defeat.
All this ripe biomass provides a perfect spawning ground for the bloom. We must stop it here.
That it is possible, and probably actually fairly easy, to look at how I have played the game so far on Ruthless and come up with even more optimized strats for Legendary. But I feel that starts getting to the point of breaking the Sid Meier's rule, where you are optimizing the fun out of the game. As always just said throughout the LP, you do not need to play this game optimally, absolutely perfectly cleanly, to get through it on high difficulty levels. And for me, as I enjoy my strategy games, that would be antithetical to the point of playing the game. That would just kill the fun for it. One amazing example of people optimizing the fun out of a game, and then actually had a response from the game that he was doing it to, was the Beagle Rush half move tab Overwatch strat, where that was kind of irrefutably the safest and most efficient thing to do, but that also just absolutely kills the fun out of a game like XCOM.
Yeah, just Overwatch crawling was extremely optimal, and yeah, it was awful.
No.
If you've ever watched anybody do it, it takes so fucking long to do anything.
And I remember another post by a random game player that actually all of you might know, because we both played Fumble at some time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the community. I don't even remember if I remember the name of the person who posted this right. Might have been Paul Power, but posted that, especially in Rulebook 4, that Blood Bowl was a game about a lot of various strategies and techniques and races. You had the orcs that hit things, or the elves that passed it, or the speed teams, or whatever. But in Rulebook 4, one strategy basically just became optimal, and that was just knockdown and foul. It was just too strong to remove people from the field, and this person had a really great post about it that was essentially like, Blood Bowl is a game about all of these different strategies playing together, mixing and creating kind of a beautiful chaos. But the LRB4 Dirty Player meta basically reduces this game of all these infinite possibilities to who can knock down, surround, and foul the other person off the field first. And it optimized or reduced the game from something complex and beautiful to it just soul-crushingly, monotonous.
Those are some adjectives that are doing a lot of heavy lifting for Blood Bowl.
I mean,
I don't know that I would say complex or beautiful.
Praise the Emperor.
I mean, I would definitely
say
complex, but
I get where you're going with that.
Yeah. The other analogy that this person also posted was his experience in, I think, early Quake, maybe Quake 2. I don't know. I never played the early FPSs. That it was a game of a whole bunch of chaotic moments, different weapon types, and all sorts of things. But if you played it competitively in multiplayer, it got reduced to knowing the map, where all the power-ups were, and running the most efficient route to run between health, ammo, and powerful weapons while fragging the people along the way, and trying to never break this.
And I can even explain that, because while I never competitively played Quake, I did play it enough to know how that works out. And yeah, it's because each map has, various weapons and power-ups. And figuring out a route that allows you to pick up every weapon and power-up as it respawns is optimal, because it denies anybody else the opportunity to get those, and then you can just continue on your route and murder people along the way. It's not just like, oh, you're getting these power-ups or weapons to be better at killing. You're specifically denying as many resources to the enemy as possible.
Right, and these are just the three examples I have of the Sid Meier's rule of optimizing the fun out of a game. And it's just been
I wouldn't
something
necessarily say
mind.
that on the Quake side of thing that's actually optimizing the fun out of it, because you're directly competing with other people who are trying to do that sort of thing, and then your plans get thrown away, and you have to sort of weigh it.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different style of game.
Right. So that's just been on my mind, and I just kind of wanted to put that out there, that I am not making this LP to show people how to play absolutely perfectly or optimally. I'm just showing that the game is accessible. It is maybe messy. There are a lot of different ways to play it. And if you want to worry about absolutely everything being optimized, this is not the place. Although I did get some great use out of Sanctified Killzone just a turn or two ago. I felt bad I hadn't been showing off some of those abilities. Being able to get, what was that, 5 targets with a Sanctified Killzone is hard to pass up.
And I think if it's even worth the willpower.
It secures the kill, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, man, like a 7 damage bolter shot, that is pretty rad.
I mean, you get refunded the willpower that you spent.
Yep.
So, pretty much always worth it.
Well, it was 7 because of Sanctified Killzone.
Right. Yeah. That's that 2 vulnerable.
Yep.
And then, yep. Oh.
Nope, he's got the bleed bolter.
Bork, you're coming back to bite you in the ass.
Nope. I had support fire. I knew what I was doing.
Oh, I mean, I figured that you might just have had somebody else finish him off, or, yeah, support fire does it.
Yeah.
Support fire is really good. Everybody should have it. Yeah, by which I mean you should run 4 interceptors for support fire.
I should load up that old, like, max level save I have and just throw every single interceptor into a single mission and see what happens.
I mean, you'll win. That's the thing. It's not about, like, oh, this is the most optimal thing. I just think 4 interceptors with silencers and support fire would be fun.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't lose doing it. And you would get to experience missions in a slightly deranged way.
Very. You have mentioned, or at least brought to my mind again, I am going to try to maybe not do that, but vary out my my squad loadouts. Each of the 3 apothecaries I have currently, I have different plans for, just to experiment and see the different skill builds for them. I am going to try to get a silencer Purgator, just because it feels, I don't know, irresponsible to the LP to just completely ignore silencer Purgators, because they are a perfectly good Purgator.
Yeah. Purgator doesn't feel like a real word anymore.
Would you say you Purgatored it from your vocabulary?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay. I was hoping to get one more hit on this guy, because Interceptor stepped out of cover for the Overwatch, but he's got a point of armor. I got a little chip damage, we'll be fine.
Those are some densely packed pods.
Yeah, a little concerned about that. However, the terrain of this map makes it a bit more approachable. Like the approach, we have the big raised area in the middle. So if I stay on the lower elevation level, there's plenty of like mounds or high walls to stop line of sight from prematurely triggering things. That said, if I do stray a little far to the right here, I do run the risk of activating the pod to the now off-screen right. So I was like, maybe I want to go grab that thing and like throw it at him, and that'd be funny. But
there's that straying.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a safer move than it was, and that is a huge pod, but it's almost all melee, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, it's all garbage.
Yeah. And thankfully, the position I decided to move the Apothecary into was also in cover from that direction, because I'm not anticipating that Heavy Stubber to survive this turn, so I don't really need to take cover from it. But also, they are really densely packed. Look at how much we can get with this ability. Found like the right
almost
pixel.
All of them.
Yeah, this is possibly the most target dense psychic scourging hit I've ever done. And this is probably the optimal time for it. I got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 targets, and they are a very far distance away, and they're almost all melee, so I can worry...
I saw you thinking about that Sanctified Killzone, and then
oh, yeah. Yeah.
You made the correct decision to not.
Yeah.
At your command.
Because even if it doesn't kill them, by the time they're a threat, they're going to have at least taken 1 tick of damage. It's going to bring them all more or less into, like, one-shot territory.
Right. So, let's remove the strong mutant the Plague Walker from that, because it has enough health. All of those shitty Poxwalkers or cultists are going to take at least 3 bleed, maybe 5. And it's going to put basically all of them into one-shot territory. So that Psychic Scourge may have actually saved about 7 AP, which is huge.
Well, if it went long enough, those cultists will take, what, 6 HP?
Yeah.
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 And just die from it. But then you're letting them maybe get an attack off or become a risk.
I am here to serve.
I mean, this is also a situation where you could, if you had it, restrict their movement and then walk away. That's not an option here because you don't have that ability. And it would also cost you some willpower that maybe you don't want to spend. But it would neatly solve that tactical clusterfuck.
Right. In this case, though, I think I might be okay with that willpower cost, because it would be high effect, and every one of those things that are going to die are a potential willpower replenishment.
Well, I'd say it's not worth the cost, if only because you're not in a situation where stalling them for a turn is meaningful.
Right.
There are no other threats that you're facing. You're just getting in position, setting up overwatches, and the next turn you're going to start killing them. So
Yeah.
I have sanctified
they're not
my
worth the
realm.
willpower to have spent this turn.
There is one thing that I overlooked, and I now remember this in post. There are 2 guys that I did not hit with bleed. Not that the bleed is the matter, but do you notice which one of them are? He's the leftmost on the top of the bunker thing.
Is that Grenadier?
It's a Grenadier.
Another one down.
Oh, those Grenadiers here to piss you off.
Yep. I was actually surprised they got all the way there to make the melee.
I figured the closest one would actually be able to reach. In terms of how this game manages distances, 10 squares is actually quite a long way.
Yeah. I mean, he's a Terminator, 2 armor, so it was a little chip damage. But here's the Grenadier, I forgot.
And that's the pinned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not really a problem.
No, it isn't.
If nothing else, you have a really nice, dense packed set of guys for your Purgator to Psychic Onslaught.
Yeah, hey, are you watching this in advance? How dare you?
No, I was looking. It seemed like the most obvious thing to do. Your Purgator is right there.
Yeah. No, I have, honestly, between playthroughs, forgotten just how good Psychic Onslaught is. I remember liking the sub-cannon for reasons.
Need more rounds.
The increased damage per shot and the ability to explode low cover are what stuck with me. But as we've seen, being able to just drop Psionic Onslaught on top of your own people and not worry about friendly fire is really valuable.
The lack of friendly fire changes it. Like, it would still be pretty good, even if it had friendly fire on it. It would just mean that you wouldn't use it in close order situation. It's also, as a restriction, not all that meaningful, because you probably could have targeted something in there and not hit the Apothecary, just by, targeting something further in the back.
Right.
So it's a convenience thing, and I appreciate it. Nobody's going to friendly fire their own troops if they can avoid it, so having friendly fire on the ability just means that it's something that you don't use as often.
Right. There is one thing that it just came to mind as you were saying that, as a convenience. So we've, I think, seen, yes, especially with the Bell guys, that enemy area of effects don't need to be centered on a singular target. Like, the Bell guy will target the space between knights. The grenade guy will target the space between knights. That targeting flexibility is not always available to the player. You can do that with grenades and psionic abilities or stuff, but psionic onslaught, for example, has to be centered on a target.
Well, because it's an upgrade rider to your shot.
Yeah.
The user interface doesn't support it. Like, if it was a separate ability that you triggered instead of being, you know, your Psybolt equivalent.
Right. Yeah, I suppose that does make more sense from a programming limitation.
And limitation in the sense of that's how they set it up. So, of course, it has to be targeted directly on somebody.
Right.
They could have just as easily made it a separate ability that you gain when you have Psy-Cannon equipped. And maybe they should have, but then your Psy-Cannon wouldn't have an upgrade ability or would have to have a separate upgrade ability. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
From a UI standpoint, I do like how there's a little confirm on your grenade throws.
Oh,
and your abilities.
I really appreciate that, yeah.
I also remember the days of XCOM 2 trying to line up the perfect grenade and then carefully click without moving the mouse.
Right, exactly.
Or just press spacebar.
Yeah, I think that became the way to do it. So I'm taking a little bit of chip damage, but I really don't care too much. Even the Interceptor has a piece of armor. The Apothecary got hit twice, but those grown Poxwalkers do 1 damage each, so they actually did nothing to him.
I mean, you've got 19 more damage before you fail your heroic deed. Poor Purgator. Actually, I'm not even sure if he had rapid reload.
Oh, he does. Pretty sure.
He failed.
Yeah.
Shameful.
I know one of my Purgators has lightning reflexes for 10% focus, which applies to the rapid reload, so as much as a 60% chance at the moment. You could be putting the Sanctic Shards on to really boost that, but
it's better to have another piece of war gear.
Yeah, given the war gear options for Purgators, I would rather have Blessed Greaves or the Ocular Enhancers.
Like he's not an arcane weapons Purgator. He doesn't need that rapid reload. It's just nice when it happens.
It is, although it does say it a lot. Psionic Onslaught uses extra ammo.
This is one of those things where you can tell when games are designed to sort of force you to deal with some of your actions will fail or, you know, not be as successful. And then games where it's close enough that people's psychology means that they can't accept a 97% hit chance because of the one time that it missed.
Ah, yes, the old elemental signet problem.
The enemy is wounded.
By which I mean Fire Emblem and those people not being able to accept accurate probability.
At your command.
Well, that's its own thing. I mean, XCOM 2 also on.
Oh yeah, normal
lower
and easy.
than Commander.
Yeah, on the first 2 difficulty levels.
Will silently adjust probabilities behind the scenes to make it so you don't continually miss shots.
Right.
Or you're less likely to continually miss shots.
The Emperor lights our path.
It's an eventuality. It's so old, I assume everybody knows, but for the sake of thoroughness, on the easier difficulty levels of XCOM 2, every shot you missed added a hidden plus 10% chance to hit to your next shot, and that bonus reset every time you landed a hit. So if you were a new player just taking a lot of like 50-50 shots constantly, you were slowly getting that bonus behind the scenes. So your actual results wouldn't be 50-50 if you actually paid attention. But, like I said, kind of human psychology, it felt more fair somehow.
People just sort of naturally tend towards bell curves. And that's what the true hit, so to speak, is. People tend to exaggerate how a linear scale actually behaves. So if you have a very high, 80 or 90% hit chance, you really expect that to be reliable. It's basically every time it's successful. And And if you miss two 90% in a row, like, yeah, that's a 1 in 100 chance, but it feels really bad. People get mad about it.
Another battle ends in triumph.
So,
Right.
the Jake Solomon solution is just, if you miss a 90% hit, you're not missing a second one. And it won't tell you about that.
Right.
That's the other thing it does. It is completely hidden. It will still show your next shot to hit as being 50% or 80% or whatever, not whatever the accumulated total is. I guess because people responded worse when they knew that they were getting that. But I mean, all you could have done is recast it as like recoil control or walking your bullets onto the target or something like that.
Right, but it accumulates between soldiers as well, so...
Yeah.
There could have been some sort of in-game, like, for lack of a better term, lore to explain it, you're right.
Well, like, I'm pretty sure I'm thinking, like, Jagged Alliance 3, I think, has a perk with heavy weapons where...
Yes, Commander.
Every miss gives you increased accuracy in a full auto burst for your next shot.
Interesting. Yeah, there's lots of good solutions. I don't know if the XCOM 2 hidden accuracy bonus was the best solution to it, but I do know, having played lots of games that involve dice or random chance or percentiles, that the internet, as a general sweeping generalization, gets really mad at anything that is not deterministic.
Well, since we're talking about games like XCOM...
Yeah.
There is another XCOM style game that gets rid of sort of the moderate. There are only 3 possible hit percentages: 0%, 50%, or 100%.
I swear to God, if you say fucking Mario Raving Rabbids, I'm out of here.
Okay, well, I will just leave it as an unnamed property then. Alright. But that's actually a paradigm that I've seen in other places as well, where you basically round to the nearest large chunk.
Right.
So if it gets too small, it's 0. If it's somewhat medium, it's 50%. And if it's higher than a certain amount, it's 100%. And that's functionally what True Hit from the game series that shall not be named accomplishes. It is still technically possible to have like a 95% chance to hit with.
Right.
But the odds of it happening are so infinitesimal that you might as well not even factor it. It's functionally 100% at that point.
Right. And it's a game design issue. Like, over the years, we have absolutely seen different games and different companies try to handle perception or random differently, and some have been successful, some have been less, some have been outrageous, some have been stealthy. But
well, I think that's more of a flavor thing.
Right. But no matter what it is, I have basically never seen a game that didn't have some sort of visible random element or percentage displayed to the player not have some small section of the player base, or like people that did play it, bitch about RNG in some fashion.
Oh, I mean, it's as old as time.
Yeah.
The dread RNG. Blood Bowl has the effects of Nuffle.
Right, yeah. Close relatives of Nurgle.
It's just NFL, but pronounced.
Yeah. I know. I mean, it's still a Chaos God, come on.
I don't know that Nuffle really rates as Chaos God.
You don't think so?
Maybe like Chaos Waterboy.
Wow. Alright. Tough talk from the division reigning champion here of the ball redistribution agency.
Hey, that was a fun gimmick.
It really was.
It's so annoying that there's not even like a legit team where you could make a team whose entire gimmick was just, I don't even remember what the skill was called. Dump off.
Dump off, yeah.
Dump off on every single player. And the whole point is that you don't like take block skills or try and move the ball by like dodging or whatever. You just move players in a general cluster, and every time they try and hit the person who has the ball, it gets thrown to somebody else.
It's great.
It was not an effective strategy, let me put it that way.
No. It is very funny, though. I
problem
absolutely
is
tried to use dump off with Dark Elf runners in, was it?
Well, I mean, they got it for free.
6. Yeah. Wait, did they? Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But a lot of the optimal Dark Elf teams didn't even bother using runners. You just ran it with a lineman or a blitzer or something. It's just they did it before. Why not?
I mean, that's elf problems. You have so many positionals that ultimately you just go with a lineman if you don't want that positional because a lineman is cheaper. It doesn't inflate your team value.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that I really enjoyed about Fumble, sort of technically. Prior to LRB 5, they didn't have... apparently we're just talking about Bloodborne. They didn't have a system for properly justifying the strength of teams. And Fumble sort of homebrewed their own. One of the things was like a player's value was, based on skills, but some other skills were more valuable. Some skills in combination were greater than the sum of their parts.
Right. I remember they did that with block dodge. Yeah.
Yeah, block and dodge give you some amount of points. Having both of them gives you more. And it actually worked out reasonably well. The problem is that Fumble had a different sort of like leveling mechanism, because LRB4, if you played a team that had a much higher team value than you got a handicap.
Yeah.
It was technically possible to have a team that was really sort of optimally strong, but low in value, so that you would also get handicaps against anybody that you played, which really wasn't great.
It was kind of gambling. Some handicaps were insanely strong, some were basically nothing, and you never got to control which one you got.
It was random. Later editions let you pick, but also made the handicaps less strong in general. And then the nature of sort of a open play system like you'd find in the Cyanide Blood Bowl or on Fumble meant that you weren't intentionally going to be playing against any team that was substantially different from you in team power anyways.
I'm here to sell my way.
But that is a huge side digression.
Yeah, I guess.
Not that we really missed a whole lot because we're now going for the last seed carrier.
Yeah. I mean, there was some good use. Crushing Charge to get through Overwatch or Suppression's real fun.
I mean, Crushing Charge is just an amazing skill.
I'd also, when I was playing, I had miscalculated my moves, and I didn't have anyone to break the Overwatch that was pinning 2 of my guys down, so Crushing Charge became the solution for that, to get out of his own suppression, and then to melee the Overwatch that was pinning the Apothecary and Purgador.
Standing ready.
I'm having to resist the temptation to talk more about Blood Bowl. This sucks. I don't even like Blood Bowl. I got sick of it like 7 or 8 years ago.
It's terrible. So here's a surprisingly small pod, after some of the things we've been dealt with this mission.
I mean, yeah, it's only 3 dudes, but these are all sort of credible. They're not just basic bitch cultists.
True. Or poxwalkers, or weak-ass thing. But it is 2 melee only, and the Marine is a plague sprayer, so they are all close range. So I can probably take my time and just pick them apart before they even get into melee.
Or you could just kill them all.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was the box of power coils or whatever.
Right the one you were standing right next to.
Well, I mean, I pulled the like man cover, but I didn't mean the exploding plasma coils that exploded the 2 plague walkers. Because that did way more damage than just the environmental interaction.
Oh, I just assumed that was the manhole cover because it always does a surprisingly large amount of damage.
No, something else exploded there. Like the box of coils or whatever that the Apothecary is standing next to. There was one next to the plague walkers as well.
Like, I'm looking at this and it's like, Boris still has his grenade.
That's a good point.
Technically, the optimal thing to do would have been to have spent it at some point during this mission. Surely there would have been a point where throwing that grenade was better than
a single attack
or shooting.
Yeah, maybe.
That's not actually guaranteed true, though.
When we were definitely surrounded by like the 6 or 7 poxwalkers or something, probably.
Yeah, but you solved that problem through other means that didn't require a grenade.
Right. As someone has mentioned in the thread, like, oh, you know, literal giant robotic crab, and Jade still forgets his stratagems. Yeah, I'm not super great at keeping everything in mind all the time. I know it's one of my shortfalls.
I am aware that it is one of your weaknesses.
Commander, but there are warp disturbances emerging nearby. We will begin teleport extraction immediately.
Foe destroyed, Commander.
I got kind of distracted.
Yeah.
Taste my
I also can't remember the name of the roguelike game with the bullet that kills time. The bullet that kills
Enter the Gungeon?
Enter the Gungeon, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So Enter the Gungeon is like one of those things where I watching you play, I noticed that you don't really adapt to variety of loadouts very well.
Yeah, I usually would have, one room clear and one boss killer weapon,
Yeah.
and would try to stick to that pretty hard, yeah.
Well, like, if you had gotten an upgrade that did something like, change your dodge roll to a teleport, it would throw you off. You would be able to very quickly adapt to that.
Gratitude.
And that's presumably just because you forgot that you had it.
Yeah.
Unleash me.
That's probably also why I prefer passive upgrades in almost any sort of strategy game I play, rather than active upgrades.
Oh, I mean, you can watch anybody play Total Warhammer 3 and realize that there are all these buttons on the characters that nobody ever pushes.
Right, yeah. I'm slightly better about that one, because there's enough time to pause to think about it.
Yeah, but you hate wizards.
Oh yeah, I don't use magic users, fuck them.
Yeah, wizards are really strong, but also they have so many buttons that you not only just... You have to make decisions about pushing optimally.
Ugh, sounds terrible.
Well, I mean, that's why you play Scarbrand.
Yeah, no, that's...
Can't even say dwarves, because dwarves have that in, like, spades. Rune Masters are really, really good.
Ready.
I do like the dwarves, though. Although I usually don't actually get Rune Masters too often.
Well, you should.
Well, there was that the one down in the south that you got me to try. That was like the Rune.
Thorgrim?
Yeah.
No, Thorak.
No. Thorak. Yeah. Or he was like Rune Master Extraordinaire or something.
Yeah. I feel like you'll also
funny.
enjoy Chaos Dwarves when you ever get around to actually playing that DLC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the multiplayer would not desync and die.
Yeah. Look, not all Total Warhammer or not all Warhammer properties are equally QA'd.
They shall not
This was pretty well QA'd. I mean,
Yeah.
aside from the things that happen in any game with a physics engine.
Hey, I am all for those. If every once in a while I shoot a Chaos Cultist and he just fucking blasts off into space, I think that's an improvement.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Every game with a physics engine should just leave that shit in at all opportunities. Encourage it to happen whenever possible.
Die, abomination!
This engagement was largely unnecessary. We're gonna get teleported out, but I had a fairly secure position with high cover, so I wasn't gonna get scourged or anything. I figured I might as well get a few kills for XP before we go home.
Yeah. And this may not be like an optimization thing. Technically, it is optimal to take the opportunity to get more experience. Hey, used a stratagem.
Well, I realize it's the last turn. I'm gonna use all of the stratagem.
Yes, Commander.
I really do. This new side cannon does so much damage. also with crits, it does an amazing amount of damage.
Emperor's fury.
So, you know, I could have used stratagems sprinkled in throughout the fight. And honestly, when we got surrounded at the corner by all of the melees, maybe a Quicksilver would have helped or something. Or,
Well, demonstrably, you didn't need it.
Yes.
You took, what, like 3 points of chip damage?
Maybe something like that, you know?
It's a quarter of all of the damage you've taken this mission.
Oh, he popped out. But it just kind of goes with my general feeling that there are things I don't necessarily keep in mind or plan out as well as I could. But as we've said, and especially as I said in the beginning, you don't really need to.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I feel bad going back from a mission realizing, oh, hey, I forgot to use all of my stratagems again. But, you know, you don't need
that
it.
is one of those things. Your enjoyment, or, you know, you as in, like, the listener's enjoyment, is going to vary depending on what you want the perceived difficulty to be. There are some people who really enjoy playing things on the hardest difficulty. Personally, I tend to make my decision after I play the game on a, you know, more moderate difficulty, and then decide if I really like it and say, yeah, I want to, like, go hard in the, like, metaphorical sense. But also in the, like, difficulty adjustment sense.
Restored, brother.
There are some games that are difficult, and mastering that difficulty is quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
This, I don't know that increasing the difficulty makes the tactical decisions more enjoyable. It really just forces you to play more optimally. And, you know, for some people that's good. For me, you know, not really my thing.
Yeah, I like this game just because it's I don't know how to describe it, freeform and messy.
You get lots of decisions.
Yeah. Hey, look at this.
Oh.
A 6 damage silencer. Oh, that upgrades.
6 damage, upgrades to crit damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is... Yeah, that's a... I mean, even though it's only tier 2, it's worth grabbing.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just take tier 3 weapons. I mean, I guess you could, but it's not fun to do that.
Yeah. Immune to hobbled or immobilize. You know. I mean, it's a tier 1 armor. What do you expect? So here's the other good melee book, or melee option. It is the Book of Crit Damage. There is a scroll of crit chance. And if you ever get, like, interceptors with pockets, putting both of those things on an interceptor with ruthless precision is amazing. So I'm definitely going to take it. I would like the tier 3 versions, of course, but I'm not going to pass up the tier 2. Because who knows the next time I might see one. So Boars is finally at the point where I gotta make a choice, kind of. Do I go for Rend, or do I go for, like, gun support? He's already got Terminator armor, so I feel like I'm gonna go for gun support, just because I can slap a side cannon on him. Not with this level, but next level.
I mean, yeah, you can. I'm not even sure that's necessarily all that worth it. Alright, Thule is definitely already going for the grenades.
Yep.
+1 ammo over +1 area. I mean, you're eventually going to take both.
Yeah, next level is the other two. And then I'm counting skill points to mental focus. This is level 6, level 7's the tops, and I got 4 more, and I will just be able to get mental focus with Thule. It kind of sucks that it takes all that time to get there. You may be able to go mental focus earlier if you wanted to, but your crit chance also might not really matter too much. It's a decision how you want to prioritize this. Somewhere in here, I believe, is me thinking about, okay, what am I going to do with Elgon to make him different than the other apothecaries?
Well,
And
I mean, he
he's
already had Scourging. I
Yeah.
did kind of bully you into that a little.
So, I definitely want the War Gear slot and the Skulls. Or at least the War Gear slot. And then I'm probably going to go Scourging and Light, or Judgment. just to see what I can do with that. And then I'm going to calculate out, can I get to Ruthless Precision down here? And so that's my plan for Elgon, is to get the top mid and bottom mid, and then figure it out from there. Oh, and it is a glorious level up for Storm. So we get Ruthless Precision, 10% crit chance, and a 2%, or not 2%, 2 crit damage bonus, because he has Devoted Practitioner, and sooner or later, I'm going to notice that, yes, he does have 3 skill points. And that gets in level 6, so he's got 7, 8, and 9, so he's got 7 skill points left, which is, I'm calculating out, I want to get Teleport Boost and Pockets, which is 7 picks. Arguably why I think Devoted Practitioner is most important on Interceptors is just to get that exact setup on their skills.
Well, yeah, and we talked about this in the video. You do have to make some hard choices, and for the Interceptors in particular, if you don't have bonus skill points, you have to give up the things that you would otherwise like to have.
Yeah.
But, more skill points are available at any time if you pay for them.
Don't do that. Don't intentionally kill knights for extra skill points.
But my optimal builds.
Indeed.
Optimal only in the sense of I have taken every skill up on the same Interceptor.